Hi, and welcome to this week's episode of Teen Kids News. I'm Reed. We've got a lot to tell you about, so let's get started. Here's our top story. It's something we probably see every day on the street, on TV, and in the movies. Smoking. It's a habit millions of Americans have, including a surprising number of teens. And it's a bad habit.
Smoking isn't cool. It's not something you want to do. It can scar you for life.
Smoking is not cool.
It's gross. It smells bad.
If you play sports or do any of that, it affects all of that stuff.
I think that I'm never going to do that.
Smoking can ruin your life.
A lot of kids don't admire when you smoke because it's disgusting.
It is. And while most teens seem to agree that smoking is bad for you, many still light up. In fact, according to the American Lung Association, every day about 2,500 kids will try smoking for the first time. Experts say e-cigarettes are to blame. For years, smoking was actually decreasing, but vaping has changed that.
So e-cigarette, there's no question, is on the rise with our middle schoolers and our high schoolers. It's very frightening because our middle schoolers can start e-cigarette use as young as 11 or 12 years old.
There's a lot of kids that smoke over on the skate park.
I don't personally know anybody who smokes, but I've seen people do it.
I see people around the school smoking a lot after school and even before school.
Either they follow their dads and their moms, or they think it's cool.
Some might do it to be cool, but some just do it, stress.
And it's not that teens haven't heard all the warnings about smoking, that it can cause things like cancer, lung disease, heart disease. Not to mention that nicotine in regular cigarettes and vape pens is highly addictive. Unfortunately, some teens just tune out the long-term concerns.
And that's why it's so important to tell teens about the immediate dangers of smoking. Things like your clothes smell, you're spending all of your money, your teeth and fingers can get yellow, and you're going to have a hard time keeping up with the other kids in sports. So these are problems that can happen no matter how young you are.
And while many teens are getting the message,
it's really unhealthy for them and they're damaging their internal system and even their external system as well.
They'll probably end up with lung cancer.
Like, other people can get secondhand smoke and it's just not good for anybody.
It's been an uphill battle, especially against e-cigarettes.
They're putting fun flavors in them, making fun colors for the vape pens, so they're making it that the appeal is better. However, we're trying to teach that it doesn't matter the way it looks, the way it appears, it's still dangerous. It still has nicotine, it still has other chemicals in it and other carcinogens, which are cancer-causing agents.
That's why some states have passed laws banning flavors in e-cigarettes. Whether the rest of the country will follow suit is still up in the air. But bottom line, all tobacco products, whether lit with fire, vaped, or chewed, belong in the can, the ash can. I'm Benjamin for Teen Kids News.
We still have a lot more to tell you about. Teen Kids News will be right back.
Nuclear weapons put an end to World War II. The bombs dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki caused terrible destruction and the surrender of Japan. Nuclear weapons have never been used since, except as a threat to prevent further war. Not with the Japanese, but with the Soviet Russians. One of those threats was here in the Arizona desert. It's now a fascinating museum.
This site was built because it was in the 1960s during the Cold War, where we were sort of at war with the former Soviet Union.
So when the Soviets aimed their nuclear missiles at the United States, we aimed missiles back at them. Missiles called ICBMs. ICBM stands for Intercontinental Ballistic Missile. That means it could fly from our continent to another continent carrying a nuclear warhead. One kind of ICBM was the Titan II. It was a giant rocket kept armed and ready to launch in an underground chamber called a silo. In all, there were 54 silos spread across uninhabited areas of the U.S. They're no longer in use, but you can take a tour of one, thanks to the Arizona Aerospace Foundation.
Well, Nicole, first of all, welcome to Launch Complex 571-7.
Thank you.
We're going to go underground.
Woohoo.
Nuclear missiles are always kept underground because that is the safest place you can be in a nuclear war. So we're going to go down about 35 feet.
Alrighty.
Okay, watch your step here.
Alrighty.
As I followed Chuck, he explained what it was like to visit the site when it was manned by the Air Force and fully operational. Visitors didn't just drop by.
So this little area that we just came through is called the entrapment cage. We're going to keep everybody that comes in locked in this little cage until we figure out that they actually belong here. Looking at them on a closed circuit television camera, they got to read a special code to get in.
Huh. What's the special code?
Oh, the special code changes with every person who comes on the complex. It's what's called a one-time code.
Now that it's a museum, we don't need a code, but we still need to get past these special doors. They're designed so that one door only opens after the other door closes. And the walls down here are super thick, 4 feet of concrete. Chuck led us to the nerve center of the big underground complex.
Well, this is the control center.
Wow.
And this is where the crew waited while they were waiting for the order to launch their missile. And lucky, for us that they never got that far, and we're all still here to talk about it. So the control center is pretty cool. The cool thing about the control center is that it's a 3-story building. So the crew's quarters is right upstairs. Think about that as like a Motel 2. And then downstairs is an equipment room. And the 3 floors are not attached to the walls. The entire structure is bolted together and suspended from 8 huge springs around the perimeter of the room. So in response to a nuclear shock wave, we would just bounce up and down or sway from side to side, and we'd be safe. So really what all of this equipment is, all of this is just designed to keep the missile in a constant state of readiness and to let us launch it if we get the legitimate order to do that.
Wow.
When we return, I get to experience what it meant to be responsible for launching a Titan II nuclear missile. We're in the command center at the Titan Missile Museum near Tucson, Arizona. Chuck is running me through the complex procedure of launching a Titan II nuclear missile.
So Nicole, I'm going to ask you to have a seat in the commander's chair right there.
Okay.
And we'll talk about what's the process for actually launching the missile. First of all, the only person in the United States who can authorize the use of nuclear weapons is
the president.
President, right? I knew you would know that. It's in all the movies, right? Wherever the president goes, he's followed around by this guy with a briefcase. And they often refer to that as the football.
If the president were to open the briefcase and send the message to launch, it set off a response like this at every missile silo around the country.
So you and I are going to grab our decoder books and start writing down the message in these notebooks. We're going to write every letter and number that we hear down in the spaces provided. And it goes on and on for like 35 characters. When we're done copying the message, we're going to swap notebooks and check each other's work. They'll read the message for you again so you can kind of check your work. And if we're convinced that we've copied the right message, then we have what is called a valid message and authorization to take our locks off this big red safe. And there are 2 locks on the safe. There's a lock for me and a lock for you. And we know our own combinations, but we don't know each other's. So we both have to agree to open the safe. Out of the safe, we're going to take a couple different things. We're going to take a group of authenticator cards, and they look something like this. So in our secret message, they give us a code word. And we're going to look at the first 2 letters of the code word, say it's Q5, all right? And we're going to open this envelope up, and inside, there's the whole code word. And if that code word matches the code word in our radio message, then this is a legitimate order from the President of the United States.
Attention crew, we have a valid launch order at this time. Would you acknowledge, please?
Roger, Deputy. This is B-Man. MFD.
All right, the next thing we take out of the safe is our launch keys. It takes 2 keys to fire the missile. You put a key in right here because you're the commander. I put a key in way over here because I'm the deputy. Keys need to be turned within 2 seconds of each other and held in the turn position for 5 seconds to start the launch. That guarantees that 2 people are required to do this. 1 person can't run back and forth, all right? What else? Also in our secret message, we get the time of launch. Write it with what amounts to a crayon right across the face of the clock so you don't forget. And last but not least, we get the secret unlock code for the missile.
This next secret code will unlock valves to fuel the missile. It comes in with the launch order. The code is complex to make sure the launch is very deliberate.
You need to accomplish 4 things to launch the missile, and they are authenticate the message, right? Install your keys, figure out the time of launch, enter the BVL combination. Once you've done that, you are good to go. All set, Commander?
All set.
Now, first of all, let's just reiterate that this is a retaliatory weapon. So we would not be asked to launch this unless the enemy had already fired at us. So we can assume that topside up there, nuclear bombs are going off someplace. So this is our cue to go. All right, Commander, what you need to do is give me a countdown, like 3, 2, 1, turn keys, all right? Oh, and by the way, crew always use their left hand to turn the key. Okay?
Oh,
and
is there a reason for that?
Yeah, there is. The reason that crew use their left hand is because if you use your right hand, you obscure your view of these lights. It's important to see when those lights come on. Okay, Commander, give me the countdown and we'll send this missile on its way.
Okay, 3, 2, 1.
Turn keys and hold.
I see a light come on.
Okay, you may release. That's all there is to it. The little green light says launch enabled. For all intents and purposes, that little light should say, welcome to World War III.
It's comforting to point out that these missiles were only launched in drills like this one.
Red alert, red alert, red alert. Have a comm check, please.
GEO, loud and clear.
Roger. Initiate terminal count order has been received. Powerhouse, start locks only. Launch exercise checklist, please.
Oh, and one more thing. The museum wants everyone to know the missile here is no longer armed and dangerous.
This is the top of the silo. The structure right behind me is the silo door. Rides back and forth on railroad tracks like this, weighs 760 tons, can be fully opened in 20 seconds. The missile is right under that glass window. We put a glass window on there to satisfy the Soviets so they could look down there with spy satellites and figure out that it's not an active missile. In time of war, this is where the missile would come out and begin its flight.
We'll continue our tour of this incredible museum when Teen Kids News returns.
We're below the surface of the Arizona desert. Today, this is the Titan Missile National Historic Landmark, a museum. But for many years, this missile site was on constant alert.
Just sitting in the commander's chair gives you the feeling of the tremendous responsibility these officers had.
Yvonne Morris used to sit in it, for real.
I spent 4 years in this chair from 1980 to 1984 because I was a Titan II Missile Combat Crew Commander who was stationed at this site during that time.
Now she helps run the museum, but back in the day, she was in the hot seat.
I was in charge of the crew that would have launched the missile that was based here if we had been ordered to do so.
How did it help keep us safe from attack?
Well, the Titan II system, its job was peace through deterrence. That meant that we were supposed to show the former Soviet Union that if they ever launched their missiles against us, that we would launch Titan II missiles, among others, against them, and that we would retaliate with such force that they would not be able to survive it. And that's called mutual assured destruction.
Mutual assured destruction. It's mad, all right. And the memory of that tense time is the reason this museum exists.
Well, we made it into a museum because you can't know what the future is going to be, or you can't influence the future if you don't understand where you came from. And so in the future, people are going to have to make some very important decisions about nuclear weapons and how they're used. And they can get the information, or at least some of the information that they need to know to make those decisions right here.
Interesting as the control center was, there was still a lot more to see on our tour.
Okay, Nicole, let's head down toward the silo, and while we're going, just kind of stop real quickly along the way. There's something I'd like to show you. These are propellant handling suits.
Wow.
Propellant for Titan II is really toxic, and so if you're going to be working with it, you got to wear these suits. They're like moon suits, but they're not air conditioned. So if you're wearing one on the surface and it's like 105 degrees, about 15 minutes is all you can stand.
Oh my gosh.
Start raving mad. You want to try the helmet on?
Absolutely.
Check this out. Go ahead.
Oh, it's heavy.
Yeah, the whole suit, everything, oxygen, everything, weighs almost 50 pounds. To get to the silo, we need to walk through this large tunnel. It's called the cableway. The cableway is fully shock isolated. These are springs on both sides. And the reason is it's carrying electric power cables from the silo. It's carrying missile telemetry cables over here. It's carrying piping to the control center on this side.
So the whole thing is shock resistant?
That's right. If we got a hit, it'd all stay together.
But it never got tested.
It never got tested.
That's a good thing.
All right, Nicole, we're going to go where we never take visitors.
Ooh.
Right this way.
Wow.
So here it is.
This is the missile, huh?
This is the missile. This is Titan II. And the whole purpose, the only purpose of this whole big missile is to deliver that nuclear warhead to a target on the other side of the world.
Just that little bit of black at the top there?
Just that little black cone at the top is the only part that actually makes it to the target. Everything else is thrown away in flight.
For this huge missile. Oh my gosh. How big is it?
I will show you how big it is. Take a look over the edge.
Wow.
It is 10 stories straight down.
It's such a long way down that to visit the bottom of the missile, we had to take an elevator.
All right.
Alrighty.
This is so cool. You'll love this.
Wow.
Look up.
Oh my goodness.
Is that something?
Whoa.
Fortunately, America has never had to fire a nuclear missile in wartime, and hopefully never will. For Teen Kids News, I'm Nicole.
Most of us dream of the day that we'll get our driver's license. When that day comes, or if you're already driving, the National Road Safety Foundation wants you to keep this message in mind. Don't miss the other cool videos created by the NRSF. It's easy to find more. Simply like, follow, and subscribe to the National Road Safety Foundation. We'll be right back with more Teen Kids News right after this. According to a recent survey of teens, here are our favorite foods: hamburgers, pizza, tacos, fried chicken. They needed to do a survey to figure that out?
Okay, here's a story you are absolutely not going to believe. Are you ready? Here it is. It used to be legal to send children by mail. Yes, You heard correctly. In the early 1900s, the U.S. Post Office started a new package delivery service. Just about anything weighing less than 50 pounds could be sent by mail, including children. The parents of Charlotte May Piersdorf saw that it was far cheaper to mail little Charlotte to her grandmother than to buy her a train ticket. So they slapped a stamp on her coat and mailed her 70 miles from Grangeville to Lewiston, Idaho. To be clear, kids were never put in a box. Postal workers carried the children and were responsible for their safety. The practice only lasted a year or so before public outcry caused the Postal Service to stamp out the practice. For Teen Kids News, I'm Alexandra.
That's it for this edition of Teen Kids News. Thanks for watching. See you again next week.